Hello, beautiful souls. I am so excited to bring you this masterclass on this great conjunction, the Great Awake, which is what I'm calling it, the Great Crumbling, the Great Crumbling, the Great Awake. So this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, sort of recorded something and then sold it as a little thingy. So most of you know me, so you know how I work. I tangent, I go everywhere, and I do have pages and pages of notes. I'm hoping that this will be around 90 minutes. That's my intent. It might go to 2 hours. Hey, I might do it in less than 90 minutes if I, who knows? Who knows when it comes to me? But I firstly just want to say thank you. Thank you for purchasing this. This has been something bubbling within me for the past 6 months. And ultimately, this is live now in real time on the 1st of July, actually, smack bang in the middle of 2019. 2019, which really is a great purge, a year of purging, of crumbling, of coming into your own sovereignty, of letting go of everything that doesn't serve you on such an enormous level. So this is so much bigger than Ben-Hur. This isn't just, a full moon and I do a little ceremony. This is like one full ceremony. 2019 is its own ceremony of purging, letting go, releasing, banishing the past. So, here we are smack bang in the middle of the year. So I hope that this serves you well and gets you through to January 2020 with lots of juicy information. Today we're going to be covering the signs themselves, Saturn and Pluto, what they mean together. I'll talk about Capricorn, so the sign of Capricorn, so you know sort of how this is all unfolding. Then I'm going to, at the end, go through the houses and what the houses mean. So hopefully you all have your charts printed up in front of you, and I'll share the screen a little bit later and show you what Saturn and Pluto look like and show you the day of the great conjunction, this great awake. I will show you the day that is happening in January of 2020. So ultimately, then you can see the symbols yourself, and then you're going to see where and what area of your life this is going to be happening and unfolding in. So it's all very exciting. So, I want to share so much. I've got to refrain myself because there's so much going on that I could share a million different things, but I want to be really clear here in this conjunction particularly. Now that I've done this once and released it, I'm sure that I will do a few more of these, maybe lots more. Like, this is a great little teaching tool. You've always got it, and you can start to begin to understand your chart. My biggest thing is that truly I want everyone to know who they are and to work with this language and to understand how everything universally actually happens for you individually, and where it's happening and how it's happening and how long it's going to happen for. I want everyone to become their own gurus. And for me, that's a sort of as known as an astrologer. I secretly want everyone to be an astrologer. Not an astrologer that goes out and reads for everyone, but an astrologer who understands their own chart. I mean, it takes decades to become an astrologer, like decades. There is so much to understand. It's a real incredible language of juiciness and, it's just all, it's amazing. Astrology is everything. But if you understand your own chart, my goodness, astrology is a secret, not so secret superpower, my friends. People are constantly searching outside of themselves for answers. Tell me my purpose. Tell me what I should do. Tell me this. Tell me this. Why is this happening in my life? Any question you have, it's in your chart. And guess what your chart is? You. Nothing outside of you can ever, ever, ever give you what you already have in this magical blueprint that is you. This divine mandala, which is you. It's just about knowing your chart, knowing how to read it, even at a basic level. Yeah, at a very basic level. That's enough. that is enough to understand stuff, yeah? So knowing how to read the chart and then activating the chart. So a big thing is that, you know, I'm calling this the Great Awake because, you know, I've been awake for over half of my life. I think I was an awake child, to be honest. I mean, I know most children seem to be awake, and they are, you know, it just, then it depends on their environment, it depends on, you know, their chart and what's there. You know, some people do come here to live more of a maybe vanilla sort of mainstream life, and that's totally cool because that would fulfill them. For a lot of other people, that's not what it's going to be. They don't want to just become the doctor and go to uni, but they might do it because of pressure and parents and society, right? But then you look at the chart will reveal something greater or grander. We all have a great and grand purpose, and that, my friend, is just you. Your purpose is you. There is nothing outside of yourself that you need to be achieving to be fulfilled. Just knowing who you are, all of a sudden stops that constant seeking. You know, you can call off the search, you can come home to yourself, and then everything flows so much more effortlessly. Everything is seamless. The universe is constantly speaking to you. You are constantly in flow and alignment, yeah? So that is what the chart and knowing the chart is all about, is becoming awake and being able to activate the chart, you know, because at the end of the day, awareness is key. Self-awareness to your life, to every energy that you emit, all of it. That is true self-awareness. Not when you're just manifesting fancy stuff, but when you are truly in it, when you are truly in asshole state, when you know it, when you know with every fiber of your being. You know, my biggest thing is that I know every nook and cranny of myself, and no one outside of me can tell me that stuff, yeah? And to know that, you know, arms you with this great strength, this great sovereignty and true authenticity. Authenticity is one of these buzzwords at the moment. But true authenticity, you know, when you meet someone who is like that, you can feel that, right? And so when you do know all of these things, this clicks everything into place. And for me, that's the chart. The chart will click everything into place. And that's what I love watching when I have readings with people, is just all of a sudden things clicking. You know, it's profound. So yes, that is astrology. And the Great Awake is everyone waking up. Hello, look around. The collective consciousness is being awakened on a huge scale. So this next 6 months of 2019, so the end of 2019, is very big. 2020 itself is very big. So this conjunction, yes, it happens on a day in January, but then it's this build, it's this great build. It's everything that we're doing now is preparing us for our future. So the day itself, who knows, that day itself, you know, might just be a cruisy normal day, might just be hanging out on the beach all day. That's not what it's about. It's about the awareness and tuning into the frequency of what's actually unfolding up there. The build is just as important as the actual event. The build is, to be honest, actually probably more important, because the awareness around that, what you're doing now is creating your future and creating what is actually going to unfold, explode, transform, rebirth from 2020 forward. As we know, this year is about letting go. There no longer, even like referring to the past makes me cringe. I'm like, oh, it's just, doesn't even, like, last week was last week, right? I don't even, even can connect at a certain level unless it's something I'm processing, right? So this is, we are in a true time of moving away from the old, and I'm going to chat about that, because this is all what this Saturn and Pluto is building towards, okay? So I just wanted to welcome you all, like I said, and thank you for joining me. We've got a little bit of a download. I'm drinking from a giant jug thing, or whatever this is, a container, jar, because I get so thirsty because I talk so much. So excuse my giant hands on my giant container of water. So I wanted to read this quote, which just sums up everything that's happening. And it's one of my favorite astrologers, Lorna Bevan. I always give credit where credit's due, and I follow some incredible astrologers, and Lorna Bevan is one of them. And she always quotes this chick, Jeanette LeBlanc. And gosh, this woman has some wisdom. And this is it. This was the wisdom. This is a little quote that I want to kickstart this off with. Nothing big ever happens, good or bad, unless the floor falls out first. And I'm like, bam, 2019 is that fucking floor. Yeah, 2019 is the floor that is falling. This is the great crumbling because it's the great awake. And nothing can change if nothing changes. And we are watching the world at the moment change. And if you individually don't change by choice, you will be changed by something else outside of yourself. So choose to change, choose to embrace, choose to move with this movement willingly. Because if you struggle and you resist, it's like huge chains on you and you are resisting, which makes it worse. This is a time of the Great Awakening. So ultimately, yes, this is a cleanup. This is clearing the path for our future. And of course, I will be looking down because I have so many notes, and I will tangent and I will do all of the things that I do. This is my joy right now, if you can't tell. This is my absolute joy because some people, coming to me new here and you don't know all of my work. And I love popping astrology cherries, I want to pop all of the astrology cherries I can. Pop, 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 pop. I want the virgin astrologers. I love the virgin astrologers. And as you all know, I'm not big into pushing me or what I do, but I have my right-wing woman who's constantly telling me to do that. And of course I have, my astrology awareness that I take. It's a 6-week online course. And I've got some of my notes within that. And because I want to teach everyone how to read their own charts. So this lights me up like, Christmas trees. Every Christmas tree in the world is, when it's sparkling, that's me right now. So I hope that you love it as much as I love delivering it. Ultimately, the biggest thing I want to say is there is nothing to fear, but everything to watch. There is nothing to fear around this. This isn't doomsday. Saturn and Pluto are what are called malefic planets. Yeah. Saturn itself is, I'm just very mindful. This is the first time I've done something like this, recorded on Zoom, and I'm going to share a screen and I'm just making sure everything's going good. Saturn and Pluto are both malefic. Saturn, I'm going to talk much more in depth, but Saturn is about restructuring and limits and restrictions, and Pluto is death. Pluto is rebirth and transformation. So these guys are heavy hitters in the chart. Wherever they are in the chart is big times, right? This is no fluffing about here. Saturn and Pluto don't fluff about. And having these guys come together for this conjunction is literally seeding the future. It is seeding the future for us, yeah? But the biggest thing I do want to say is there's nothing to fear and everything to watch. We're watching, we're witnessing. We're sitting back and watching what unfolds. We're partaking in it, but the awareness is what then brings the great change. Without the awareness, you just become, you become in the turmoil. You become the turmoil, right? You just become wishy and washy, and it doesn't, without awareness, you're blind. It's like driving a car with a blindfold on and maybe in the back seat, just hoping, I hope something good will happen one day. I'm not a huge fan of the word hope. I believe that hope brings faith, don't get me wrong. But if you're constantly hoping things will change, well, you're screwed, right? Because hope won't make things change. You being blind in the back seat driving a vehicle, which is your life, if you're not taking control of that, which is stepping into sovereignty, authenticity, you are the creator of your own life. You are the common denominator in every single event that happens to you. The universe is always working for you. But if you are blind to that, you're just taking these corners. Can we stop a storm or a sharp turn coming up? No, we can't stop it. But the awareness can change the perception of it so we don't get dragged into it. Because ultimately stuff is always unfolding, stuff is always happening, yeah? So the biggest thing is the awareness around the stuff, and then moving through that with grace and with ease. I totally believe that life is easy. Life is so easy. It's only the mind and the humanness that makes it complicated, and that's most people. Because, a lot of people, unbeknownst to them, love hooking into stories, love hooking into drama. And, I watch, even I see many, many clients a week, and, and some of them are stuck in a story that they told me 6 months ago, a story that they told me a year ago. It's like, well, you're not changing it. Again, you've got the blinkers on when you're driving the vehicle of your own life. So astrology gives you the awareness to go, I'm awake. I'm awake. Oh, I can see that there's a little bit of a spiky thing coming up, but how am I going to approach that? How am I going to emerge with that and get through that and then emerge out the other side? Yeah. So nothing to fear and everything to watch is this Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Okay, you do not need to fear this, but I'm going to share some pretty powerful, potent bobs of information about when these guys come together. Okay, and ultimately, I'm not a history buff. Okay, I'm not going to pretend I am. If you want a history buff, follow the Leo King. Okay, he has the most amazing credibility in astrology, despite the fact that so many people don't like him. I don't understand that, but he's Leo, and he's a Leo, and he's loud, and he's American, and I adore him. Okay, and his knowledge is by far one of the most accurate astrologers I've ever come across, and he shares the history and what happened. Like, he's amazing at that. So I'm not going to pretend I'm that, because I'm not. I'm here with my passion and to share stuff, but not from that level. I'm going to share things that have happened. But, if you are a history buff, go yourself and dive deeper into stuff, yeah? Because ultimately, so much has happened in these when Saturn and Pluto comes together. But Saturn and Pluto comes together actually every 37 to 38 years, or 36 to 38, depending. There's retrogrades and stuff like that. But approximately, the last time that Saturn and Pluto were together was 1982, yeah? So it's not like it's an unregular occurrence, okay? This happens, but I'm 38, so this has only happened once in my life, and I was 1, right? And now it's happening again, and it's big because it hasn't happened in Capricorn since the 1500s. It's like 1518, right? So that's why this is big, okay, because it hasn't happened in Capricorn. We will never see it happen in Capricorn again, okay, because Pluto takes 248 years to go through 12 signs, okay, so we will never see this again. But what we do need to see and understand is how this is happening individually, and I will talk a little bit about the collective. Okay, so what Liz Green says, she says, when Saturn gets mixed up with the outer planets, which is Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, one of the results is that things exteriorize themselves in concrete terms in the world. That means things crumble in real life, not just energetically, in real life, yeah? That is why I felt that this is a real crumbling, this is a real cleanup, this is a real clearing the path for the future, yeah? So, like I said, the last time that Saturn and Pluto were conjunct, it was in 1982. Now that conjunction happened in Libra, okay? So Libra's more about relationships, and I reckon that if we go back, this is when divorces, I feel, started to become a little bit more acceptable, because what Saturn and Pluto do when they come together is they change something in society. They change whatever sign they're in, they change something around that. So pre-1982, as you would all know, like, parents back in the 60s and 30s and all that, people would stay together, regardless of if they were happy or not. They would stay together. I mean, I don't know about you, but I know a lot of very unhappy 60-year-olds in relationships, 70-year-olds in relationships. Whereas you're getting to the sort of like the 40 and 50-year-olds, like my parents are sort of mid-50s. And, it was rare when I grew up that people were still together. And so this is going into the 90s, right? So Saturn and Pluto came together in the relationship sign to change the way relationships are in a great way. Who wants to stay with someone when you're miserable? My favourite Ram Dass quote is, the best thing I can do for my husband is work on me, and the best thing he can do for me is work on him. And I feel that, maybe with some of our generation, but I mean, society still wants the quick, instant, amazing relationship with no work. There's always work. I've been with my husband for 18 years. There is always work. And is it magic and deep and incredible, and does it get richer and better and more rewarding? Absolutely. we both have Saturn and Pluto in Libra in our chart, of course. Okay, because this is generational. These signs take a long time, you know. So if you're around my age, you have Saturn and Pluto in Libra. They just weren't conjunct in my year because I was born in 1981, whereas 1982, you know, the conjunction got closer. Yeah. So I feel that, yes, there was a real revolution around relationships and how they've been. Yeah. So Saturn and Pluto then have not been conjunct in Capricorn since the 1500s, okay? So interestingly enough, in January, when this conjunction happens, it was the same in 1518. It was also in January. So the sun was also in Capricorn. And when I show you the chart, you're going to see everything that's in Capricorn because it's not just Saturn and Pluto conjunct that day. It's Saturn, it's Pluto, it's Mercury, it's the sun, and the South Node and Jupiter are all in Capricorn. Seven bodies, yeah? So it's pretty damn big, okay? So what happened in 1518? So the biggest thing that I have researched, and I did do a little bit of research, is the Renaissance. It was the Renaissance period. So summed up, really, I like giving people stuff to chew on that's simple because, again, like I said, life's easy, life's simple. It does not have to be overcomplicated. And me and my husband were chatting about this over the weekend, that I would never try and be someone I'm not, and I'm not a history buff. So I just want to keep it clean, okay? So ultimately, it was a cultural rebirth, the Renaissance. What happened was it was post-Middle and Dark Ages. Everything become modern and free. Now, how symbolic is that to now? Okay, this denotes for me to this time of freedom and liberation right now from the patriarchy, from the old ways, from this king mentality. Now, we're going to look at Capricorn in a minute, okay, because this is the sign that this is happening in. Now, we are looking at things falling. Corporations are falling. You know, there's big restructures going on. You know, we look at the governments, we look at, you know, big businesses, you know, looking at all of those things, which all has to do with Capricorn, because Capricorn rules buildings, structures, governments, it's the corruption, all of this sort of stuff, yeah? So we're watching these things fall away so that we can move into this more matriarchal, this more receptive, this more all-encompassing, not so selfish and driven and success and money and greed, yeah? This is the shadow of Capricorn, and it is all about success, yeah? So I think that that's amazing that when Pluto and Saturn came together in Capricorn, all those hundreds and hundreds of years ago was when the Renaissance begun. So moving out of the Dark Ages, yeah? So I feel like that for us is, I feel like we've been in a dark age on some level, haven't we? We could talk about, you know, feminine equality. I mean, look, we could talk about a million different things, right? But the thing is that we are moving out of this dark sort of energy to come into a new way. And it's, you know, there's teething problems in this shit, right? Like there's going to be teething problems. So I just think it's so symbolic to now, of course, that we, you know, are moving from old 3D paradigm stuff, where it's all, you know, to me it's like factual and, you know, proven and science even. I mean, that's just me though, but I'm a very not that sort of person in general. So I'm not going to speak for that that's actually how it's unfolding. That's a personal thing for me. I'm not into that stuff. On a collective thing, it's still about success, money, greed, power, yeah? And needing to be at the top, okay? So just a couple of little things here around when Saturn and Pluto have come together in the past. So in 1930, there's economic depression. 1989, this was Saturn, Uranus, and this was Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune actually. But I still thought that it was interesting because, again, remember when Saturn comes together with outer planets, something big materializes, like something physical happens, because Saturn in Capricorn is a very physical expression, a physical representation, like it's tangible shit, right? But that was the Berlin Wall coming down in 1989 when Saturn opposed Pluto. So they weren't together, they were opposite one another in the sky. 9/11, yeah. And in 1982, the main thing I found was that Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands and went to war. So there is a theme of war. There is a theme of threat. I even seen, because I've been researching and studying ages to do this, a lot of cool stuff from Liz Green too, is that nuclear war had even been mentioned. Not happened, but the threat of it. And I find that very interesting because, of course, Iran is somewhat making a threat around nuclear weapons and nuclear war to Donald Trump. Again, I'm not a news guru. I don't even watch the news. I hear some stuff on the radio, but it felt very prominent because of this time that we're in, okay? So also what I found was that Saturn and Pluto were conjunct in 1914 which was World War One. They were conjunct in Gemini. World War II, Uranus, it was in Taurus, like now, and Saturn and Pluto. Maybe it wasn't about Saturn and Pluto then, but I just thought that was interesting because there's something building. We can all feel it. No, I don't think it's going to be a war at all. That's what I mean. There's nothing to fear here and everything to watch. Okay, so there's no war, and I'm certainly not saying that. And it's, again, not doomsday. We're gonna probably, like I said, be on the beach or something. It's summer here in Australia, so the day will go. But it's the building. It's what's building around the anticipation of something big coming. And when it comes to something big with this conjunction, it is around corporations, governments, and things like that. That's what we're seeing a lot of. So it was very fascinating that all of these things sort of coincided. When Saturn hits that outer planet, things happen on a world stage. Okay, so yeah, war has been mentioned, but there are many wars, isn't there? Civil wars and wars in Iraq, and and my husband made that point the other night. It's like there's many wars, so it's not always when Saturn and Pluto come together. There's a lot of things that go into that. There is a transit. A transit won't just this is a collective energy building here, and I found it fascinating. So I'm more curious. I feel amazing. I think that this energy is incredible. And the reason is because I've been awake and aware for so long, and I've been preparing for these times. And that is why I feel excited about this. And even when there's some triggers and stuff going on, even in my own chart, I'm so aware of it. So I know how to deal with it, and I do the work. I've been doing the work for such a long time that it doesn't, throw me into a spin. So ultimately, Saturn makes stuff happen. Saturn shapes things, brings them to form, brings them to life, and that's what's going to happen. Well, that is what's happening. Ultimately, I've literally got like 9 pages of notes, but I wanted to actually say something about this. Yeah, I want to talk about Capricorn and Saturn. Okay, so I want to mention, and I mean, this could be a whole nother masterclass really, but I just want to throw in that the eclipses are in Cancer and Capricorn. So the houses of Cancer and Capricorn are having like the biggest activation this year, and for most of for next year as well, until the nodes move out of Capricorn and Cancer, which is around May 2020, I think. But the Cancer Capricorn axis is highlighted. Yes, we've got all of this stuff in Capricorn at the moment. So we've got the South Node, which is the south node of the moon, which is the ecliptic point. Saturn and Pluto, okay? So we've got those guys. And then the North Node is in Cancer, and that is the opposite. So straight away, I just want to share a little tiny bit about Cancer and Capricorn axis. So Cancer is the mother, the nurturer, the crone. She is the moon. She is the queen, okay? Capricorn is the father, the king, successful, driven, ambitious, ruthless. Yeah. Now, ultimately, this is the energy that we're in right now, is the Cancer and Capricorn, because you can't have one sign without the other. They're opposing each other, right? But the North Node, which is where Cancer is, which is the North Node's in Cancer, the North Node is our destiny. This is our purpose. And in the collective, this stays in this energy for 18 months. Okay, so until May, so we've already had, you know, several months now of North Node in Cancer. And the South Node is the past. Okay, so these points make our eclipses. Every year we have eclipses. And the signs they are in are because of the nodes. Okay, so ultimately, to have the North Node in Cancer is where we need to be heading. It is the direction we need to be going on a collective level. So that is of what? Nurture, feminine, matriarch, yin, accepting, receiving, intuition, softness, gentleness. There's still fierceness, and there's still fierce, loyal, very intelligent Cancer energy, right? Capricorn is the South Node, the past, what we must move away from, what we must diminish, banish, purge, and let go of. Now, isn't it fascinating that we're having, you know, eclipses right at this time? And from some of my research, I found that the eclipses were in Capricorn and Cancer. Other times, the other times Saturn and Pluto have been in Capricorn, but the other way round. So the North Node was in Capricorn and the South Node was in. But this was a different year, so I didn't write that down. So anyway, so the fascinating thing is that on a collective we're being urged to be more receptive, be like the moon. Yeah, just come and go. You know, she's the most she's the most changeable, because she changes. She's full and she's new, and she's, you know, first quarter, and she changes. The moon is changeable. The South Node and Capricorn, well, because the South Node's in Capricorn, and Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. Okay, so the moon is ruled by, Cancer is ruled by the moon, the mother, and Saturn, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, the father. So we've got this real mother-father stuff, okay, mother-father. And you know, I like I said earlier, you know, 2019 is this great karmic purge, okay? And that's because the South Node is in Capricorn, and he has been hanging around Saturn and Pluto this entire year, okay? So for a lot of 2019, okay, that the South Node is, we are being asked to go to the most deepest vulnerable levels to move away from the Capricorn energy in our lives individually, and we'll see that in our chart, but on a collective scale. You know, people are moving away from, oh, I need to be a millionaire and a billionaire, and how unhappy they are. We're moving into this more nurturing, caring, soft space to land, instead of the hard Capricornian way of like, just must succeed at all costs, you know, that sort of stuff. I need stuff, material. I need to be perfect. I need to look a certain way, right? We're moving away from that towards this Cancerian North Node, this destiny point, this urge within us to move toward that, okay? So it's fascinating. I love that. I love that this is all thrown into the mix as well. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it. I mean, again, that could be a whole nother thing, talking about nodes. Nodes are my favourite. I teach that in my Module 2 course. I didn't even teach it in my Mod 1 course, because it needs, you know, 2 weeks of its own. So the bigness and the grandness of this conjunction is that, you know, unless Saturn is in Capricorn, he's not at home, right? So each planet has a home sign, and Saturn's home sign is Capricorn. So this cycle is around 30 years, 28 to 30 years, okay? So we have not had Saturn in Capricorn for nearly 30 years, for 30 years, for 30 years. And then to have Pluto there. Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008, I believe, yes, and will be there until 2024. But then Pluto will not be in Capricorn again until 2255. I like the two master numbers there, 22 and 55. Very fascinating. So while Saturn is in Capricorn and at home, this is why this one's very powerful. okay? Because when a planet is in its natural sign, it's easier for it to get what it wants. The potential's higher. There's more seamlessness around it, you know. So Capricorn and Saturn is at its highest potential. It makes Saturn can express itself better, and ultimately it's all about reality, responsibility. This is what Saturn is about. Let's have a little chat about Saturn. So I've just got some keywords, you know. Let's chat a little bit about Saturn. Let's talk a little bit about everything. I love Saturn. Saturn's a taskmaster, okay? Saturn wants stability. He wants you to take responsibility for your life, and he does want success, yeah, at the end of the day. But his boundaries, structure, delays, humility, self-discipline, pessimism, melancholy, limitation, tenacity, reality, serious, sincere, and rewards. Okay, so Saturn says that, you know, you are what you earn. Okay, I believe everyone must be friends with Saturn. So Saturn, he is the taskmaster. He is stern. He does push you. He does stop you from doing things. He will make you know, you might feel limited in a certain area or restricted, and that's Saturn playing out. And then we put on our big girl pants and we push through, right? Saturn is the last visible planet to the naked eye, which means that he's got his foot in both worlds. You know, he's got his foot in the outer planet world and the inner planet world. And this is all, you know, he is known as the Lord of Time. So I really find time fascinating, you know, time traveling, which I do. You know, time is boundless. It's infinite. If you want to learn more about time and a real big, like, what I've been living for 20 years when it comes to time traveling and parallel universes, and that's probably why I love Saturn so much. Watch What the Bleep Do We Know? So it's a documentary that was out so many years ago. I've been watching it for years, and it's a real fundamental part of my practice and who I am. Saturn is structure and chronology, you know, so when you're feeling time bound or you've got time restrictions, you know, at the end of the day, time is malleable. You know, that's quantum theory, that there's no space and no time. And so it's interesting that when something like this happens with Saturn will imprint like a new time passage. That's what Saturn will do. Saturn and Pluto coming together, because Pluto's about rebirth, it creates like a new way of dealing with time. You know, a new timestamp. And what did I write here? I wrote something good. Yes, time changes. Yeah, that was all I wrote. I knew it was good. Yes, time changes. So Saturn is about time, okay? Ultimately, you know, there is you know, Saturn's about authority and ambition, and he's the summit, right? Patience. He's solid. He's practical. He gives form, shape. He is logical. Yeah, we love our Capricorns, right? And we've all got Capricorn in our chart somewhere, and Saturn resides somewhere in our chart as well. But while Saturn is in Capricorn, he is at home. This is where he is at full flux ahead. No barriers, no stopping him. There is nothing in his way. He just goes and he knows what he's doing. Yeah. So this Capricorn and Saturn, it's a reality check. I've just written reality check, baby. Like, that's what this is. This is all about being real. No more illusion. And because we are moving into such an earthbound time, you know, we're watching things crumble that are built on sand. You know, the biggest thing with Saturn and then Saturn in Capricorn is, what is your foundation? Okay. Is your foundation of everything? Yourself, your family, your relationship, your job, your hobbies, your passion, all of it. What are the foundations that you've built them on? Sand, so they just crumble. If something around you crumbles, you crumble. When a foundation is strong, it is made of concrete, you know, and Saturn is all about a strong foundation. Now, if there are cracks in your foundation, or you've hidden cracks with glitter, you're like, oh, no, I'll put some glitter there. No, I'm not going to face the truth. You might be going through a really fucking hard time right now, okay, because Pluto, he is truth, and he doesn't give a fuck what your opinion is. He will destroy everything that is not the truth. So if you have a lot of cracks in your foundation and you're covering them up with glitter and rainbows and fairy dust and crystals, no. This is a time of the great crumbling. Those cracks will be exposed and so will you, right? And that's what we're seeing on a very collective level. Cracks are being exposed, baby. We are seeing everything for what it truly is, everyone for who they truly are. My goodness. You know, I've moved away from so many because I've seen truth. And it's so fascinating, right? And we're seeing it on such a global scale, not just individually, not within our own spheres, but on a really global scale, you know, within all of the industries, spiritual industry, all these sorts of things, yeah? We're seeing it all. All the worlds are come crashing down because this is the great crumbling, because it's the great awake, and it's exactly what we need. So reality doesn't reality. I like reality. Saturn doesn't necessarily give you what you want, he gives you what you need. He wants you to succeed, and that's what I love about Saturn. Because there might be an obstacle, but it's that you keep putting a square peg into a round hole, and he's just going, hey, turn left, because there's the round hole that you're looking for with the round peg, but you're trying to push something that doesn't work constantly. Okay, so Saturn is, you know, I love Saturn, and yeah, like I said, Saturn in Capricorn is about reality. This is what we've been facing in 2019, haven't we? On a very big scale. It's about taking responsibility for every part of your life, growing up, maturing, getting serious. Saturn is also karma. So it's karmic lessons that are going on at the moment as well. And because the South Node is hanging out with Capricorn pretty much for most of 2019, what do you think that is? It's a purge of karma. Okay, so whatever you have been reaping, you are being brought to the tribunal. You are facing it. You are reaping all the rewards for all seeds you have sown. There's no such thing as like, oh, you know, karma will come down and hit me because I, you know, swore at someone, or I don't know, like did something shit. Like, yeah, if you do something shit, like it happens instantaneously. And I just want to like divert just for a tiny second, just to give you how quick karma works when you are in alignment. I was hit by drunk drivers, how many years ago now? 11. Oh, and this month, it's 11 years ago. Isn't that fascinating? Anyway, so I was hit by drunk drivers. I was speeding like 110 kilometres an hour. It was a 60 zone, and, you know, they come across like 4 lanes, smashed into me. If one of my children had have been in the car where the car seat was, that they would not be here right now, but I was coming home from work, luckily. And because they were not good people, you know, I'm not saying, you know, like everyone needs to, like that was a bad decision. I didn't hate them for drink driving because it's not, you know, they were young. I actually forgave them for that. I was getting married months after, so I was actually quite like, you know, holy heck, you could have taken like my children's mother and my soon-to-be husband's wife. So you need to understand that. But I didn't hate them for drink driving. And the thing is that the universe looks after me, as the universe looks after you, especially when you're in alignment with it. The moment that they hit me and did that to me, and that was a collision of divine synchronicity. Like I have never harbored one like angry thought or angry moment toward them, because it was an accident. And there's no such thing as an accident, because everything's a coincidence and everything's meant to happen, right? So the thing is that, but this is the karmic part of it, is that the moment they hit me, because they were like into drugs and stuff like that, their house burnt down. So I just found that extreme within moments of them hitting me. So they were all over the newspaper going, oh, the house is broken down. I mean, they had the car accident, and because they had to be cut out of the car with the jaws of life. And then moments later, their house burnt down, all within 5 minutes or something of all of this happening. And I was just like, you know, there's no, you know, everything takes care of itself. And my point here is that, you know, whatever we do, it's being taken care of. Yeah, whatever we're seeding, it's the future, and it's the future karma, right? So this big purge that we are in at the moment with the South Node, which is karma, hanging out with Saturn, who is the planet of karma, you get it? It's big. It's really, really big. Because now Saturn moves into Aquarius, and then, you know, it goes through the rest of the signs, and the South Node's moving in the opposite direction. So going into going into Sagittarius and then going backwards. So, I mean, they're not going to meet up again for, I haven't even actually done the maths or looked, so I'm not going to try and pretend I know when, but they're not going to meet up for a long time. So the South Node and Saturn being together at this time is the pure karmic purge of everything that you've done to move on from, to not hold on to anything, to not keep bringing stories back to the past. And that's why it's difficult for some people, because people live in the past. They can't move on. They can't move forward. So this is the universe is giving you the permission, and it's orchestrating everything divinely for you to let go. Yeah, because we know the Zen proverb is so true for 2019. Let go or be dragged. And a lot of people are being dragged right now, okay, in the collective. A hell of a lot. And in even people that I know in spheres, yeah, spheres and spheres and spheres of people. Because they can't let go, okay, and they're still caught up in what happened last week or last month or last year or 10 years ago with that particular person, that particular situation. We are being given the most beautiful card of free will to go, guess what? You don't have to hold on to that anymore. It's not yours anymore. You don't have to own that anymore. Move through that graciously and move forward, and no more turning back. It's a time of closing chapters. Close chapter on that book, chapter on that book. You might have 10 different books in your life. It's starting to close chapters on them. Burn the friggin' book. Burn the chapters. Let it go. Yeah. So it's so fascinating that that all of this is happening in this Capricorn. It's exciting too. I love these energies. But I love my Saturn. I have a wonderful relationship with my Saturn, and I am very realistic. I can still channel and talk to trees and aliens, and I can do all the stuff. I do all the things. I do it very privately. I don't need to announce it to the world. But the thing is that we are here. We are humans, yeah? So every day it's what choice do you make? Every day, what choice do you make? Every day, what choice do you make? You are the key. You are the creator of your own reality. It's all up to you. That's it. It's all up to me. It's all up to everyone else. No one else can do it. And that's why I love Saturn, because Saturn knows that. That's what Saturn wants you to understand. Come back to reality. Stop living in an illusion, a disillusion, and see how wonderful life is every single day. The joy, yeah? Not the hardships. Like that's old mentality. That's us moving away from the dark ages. Oh, work, oh, that person, oh, society, oh, this. Like I can talk about all these things that are happening with no attachment, but I've been practicing Buddhism for a long time, and I can be non-attached to things and situations and what's going on. Because we can't heal the collective if we don't even know ourselves and heal ourselves, right? Yes, you can be compassionate and empathetic and still non-attached. I promise you, you can be those things, because I am that. But the interesting thing is that, Saturn talks about getting serious, and wherever he is in your chart is where where you have got a lot of lessons to learn, but where there's a lot of karma to be fulfilled as well, yeah? So that karma stuff is really fascinating to me. So I just sort of tangented off there a little bit. And like I said, as we know, Capricorn is, I've read a little bit about Capricorn. Saturn, sorry. Let me read a little bit about Capricorn. Earth sign. Capricorn, because it's ruled by Saturn, they're similar. Capricorn's the teacher, the wise old sage. Yeah, I call my husband the living Buddha. I have some clients that call him the Oracle. They come to me and then they're, what does the Oracle say? And I'm like, yeah, Joel's the Oracle, right? Because he's this Buddha, yeah? Again, Capricorn is cautious, and it's about solitude, authoritarian, driven, success-orientated, tenacious. My God, the tenacity that Capricorns have can be very much too serious, but also probably one of the funniest signs I've ever met in my life. But ultimately, all the Saturn stuff is the Capricorn stuff, okay? Because that is how it's expressed. The Capricorn expresses Saturn. They're at home there. This is, Capricorns are ruled by Saturn, so it's their nature to be like that. But at the moment, it's our collective nature, okay? And so we must look at where all that's happening in our chart. So Capricorn, especially with what's going on now, because Capricorn also rules, you know, banks and governments and systems, buildings, structures, foundations. Again, it's physical, it's the real deal stuff, you know, like I just, you know, I love when I'm sharing in my course, you know, take the signs and look at their symbol, and the Capricorn's the goat, and the real full-on side of the goat is the constant striving to reach the summit. We will all get to the summit, but there has to be surrender in that. And then Capricorn has a fish tail that keeps them, you know, and when they start to evolve, they move away from materialism and they move into spiritualism. They move into the depths, because Capricorns are extremely deep, very, very deep. And there is a lot of substance to them. Well, there's a lot of substance to every sign, but Capricorn has the duality, this real material, physical, must achieve, must keep going higher, 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 higher. You know, like sometimes I say to my husband, you're a goat on a ledge, enjoy the view, you know. No need to constantly keep reaching for the summit. You're doing really good now. Enjoy it for a little bit before you want to go further. And then that gives them the chance to really dive in spiritually. I mean, Capricorns are very self-reflective, and they're very deep, and, you know, a lot goes on beneath the Capricorn's facade, because the Capricorn wants to be seen as successful, okay? And that's why the South Node is in Capricorn, because we need to move away from the facade, right? We need to move away from success being pinned onto money, status, fame, power. That is why the South Node is in Capricorn while we are going through this purge, while this great conjunction, great awake, great crumbling is happening. It's because we need to move away from that and move toward the North Node in Cancer, the mother, the matriarch, nurture, use your intuition, feel good in, you know, it's the home space. Yeah, Cancer is the home. So everyone's, you know, like while they're driving for success, you know, how much, you know, how many, you know, families didn't grow up with fathers because they were working all the time and they missed out. You know, we're so blessed. My husband doesn't miss out on anything. His job's incredible. It's flexible. He comes to all the kids' stuff. You know, he's home every night for dinner. And that's the life that we chose and we created. And you know, and I'm, you know, I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, our decisions as well, because, you know, he is a very driven, successful man, but also this is his success, me and his children. Yeah, so that is his success, and that is what the collective is being taught. Redefine success. I think that's the key here, yeah? So ultimately with this, all this Capricorn energy, we've got, you know, banking, government, systems, corruption, bankruptcy. So what's happening now already before this conjunction hits is bankruptcy in big companies, the breakdown of old systems, old structures, and redundancies. Now, I have known of companies just in the past few days, big companies making people redundant, because they're completely changing their old systems. Now, this has actually affected me personally because my daughter works for Woolies, and Woolies is doing a very big restructure. Woolworths is doing a very big restructure, billion-dollar company, right? So this is the thing. These huge companies, huge corporations are making very, very grand changes. Now, it's interesting because, you know, my husband's business, I mean, where he works, they're actually building a brand new building for them to work in, and that will be ready this year. So that is coming in the physical way, that they are building a brand new building and a whole new way of relating. So, you know, standing up, everything, you know, no desks and different rooms and like all this different stuff. Like he was telling me, it's all, and guess what it is? It's all very Aquarian. And this is this thing that we're moving into. We are moving into the Aquarian age. Saturn moves into Aquarius next year, okay? There's a retrograde there, but then he moves fully into Aquarius at the end of next year, okay? Now, Saturn in Capricorn is top dog success. Saturn in Aquarius is equality, humanitarian, coming together, no segregation. So this is the gradual move toward the Aquarian age. Like, because 2021, once Pluto will also move into Aquarius, This will be huge. This is like 2024, 2025, something like that. This is massive. I mean, gosh, I'm going to be doing so many more of these things. But, you know, the thing is that Aquarius is ruled by the planet Uranus. Uranus is the planet of astrology. Hola. You know, and Uranus right now is in Taurus, hasn't been in Taurus for 84 years. I have a stellium, which is a plethora of planets in Taurus. And yeah, so much of my chart, if you knew my chart, you'd just be like, oh my God, you know, and my astrology courses sell out. And, you know, I've been booked up 4 months in advance all year. And it's because finally, you know, people are waking up and knowing that they've gone outside of themselves for so long and all the answers are within their chart. And if they can just have access to that superpower, then, as I say, master yourself and you master the universe. So very interesting with this Capricorn structures around things falling down, things, you know, things being completely overhauled, systems, things that have been in place for so long, they're all changing. So isn't that amazing? So I think we've done good with Capricorn and Saturn stuff, right? Let's move to Pluto, one of my favourite planets. Pluto. I'll have a little read about some of the, and of course I know all of this, but you know, I like notes. I am an over preparer. You should see me with my charts when I give readings, because I do everything by hand and I'll have like copious amounts of notes and I don't ever get to all of it because I like to be over prepared. But that's because I've got planets in the 12th house. And I've got Mercury in Gemini. So, you know, I tangent and can talk about a million different things, but I like to have a little bit of I like to be over prepared and have lots of notes and have lots of like little pings for me to bounce off, yeah? So Pluto, keywords, transformation, obsession, power, control, passion, intensity, depth, secrets, the destroyer, resurrection, underworld, private, manipulation. Pluto destroys, breaks down and resurrects, right? He doesn't give a shit what's going on. He will come in and this is what I hear. He doesn't care if you are comfortable. Yeah, that's Pluto. And I have Pluto in my very first house in my chart. My first house is self. So that's the thing, you know, I am not a palatable person, maybe to some people I am. And I love that. That's you know, bless you if you know, resonate or what I do lands for you. I appreciate that. But if it doesn't, that's totally cool. You know, I am not for everyone and I'm completely okay with that. I am not vanilla. I am not palatable. That's just me because I'm quite Plutonian. You know, I'm very strong and, you know, Pluto doesn't pander to make you feel comfortable. Pluto is about the truth and destroying what's not the truth because Pluto's about knowing yourself, standing in your own authority and not just succumbing to what society thinks you should do, not succumbing, oh, but that person thinks I should do this, you know. As most of you know, I've never seen a psychic because how can they know me more than I know myself? I'll see a psychologist before I see a psychic. I much prefer that. And I do see a psychologist. Therapy is amazing. Pluto does not pander to you. He is an excavator, so he gets down as deep as he can. Yeah, Pluto wants to go to the depths. He's the researcher. He's like got the psychic tools to go down deep into your psyche, to your unconscious, your subconscious, and go, what's actually there? He's emotional though. There's emotion, you know, he's rage. Yeah. Pluto is Hades. Look, I don't want to get too much on the Greek mythology. Trust me, 2 really amazing movies to watch to understand a little bit of Greek mythology is the kids' movies, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief and Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. Literally, I just flew to Europe. I watched them myself. Everyone else is watching other movies. I'm watching that one by myself because I love those movies and they teach me so much. Like they teach me stuff about this. So ultimately, Saturn, just so you know, is Kronos. Now, Kronos ate his own grandchildren. Okay, so tells you a little bit about Capricorn, a little bit about Saturn. Saturn itself, those rings around Saturn are ice, okay? So there is this iciness to Capricorn. There's this iciness to the Saturnian nature of people. Because you might not be a Capricorn, but if you've got Saturn on your ascendant, you are Saturnian, right? So that you can maybe come across as cold. You're not. That's why I was talking about, the great goat that wants to just like drive forward, but then there's this tail in our subconscious world of deep intertwined connection to the spiritual growth. Yeah. So ultimately, that's Saturn. Okay. So Saturn has rings of ice. Pluto is Pluto, obviously. He rules Scorpio. And Pluto is the furthest away from us in our bit, because of course there's galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies, and I love thinking about that because it blows my mind. And I know that we are just like this big. We're so small that it's just like, it's like air. And I love that. It just makes me feel like a part of something fucking amazing. But Pluto is so far away from us that Pluto is like this bit of a mystery. But Pluto is Hades. Okay? And Hades like steals women and brings them down and rapes them. And there's really full-on stuff with Pluto. But Pluto's the transformer. Yeah, I think Pluto would probably be the devil, really. I mean, in Percy Jackson he is. It's really funny because Hades turns up and he's just like a cool guy in like black clothes, and they're all like, oh, we didn't think you would look like this. And then he just transforms into this huge devil like fire, like, do you want me to look like this? And they're all like, no, like go back to your rock look. And it's just so true, like Hades is the underworld. And it's the shadow, and this is what this energy is bringing up for us. We must become okay with the shadow. There's so much around the shadow and not sort of like melding with it and coming with it. I mean, if we don't face the truth, especially this year and especially coming into 2020, especially throughout all of 2020, because yes, this conjunction hits in January, but they pretty much hover around each other for a lot more of the year, my friends. But yeah, if you don't, if you're not honest with yourself, if you don't own your truth and go into the shadow, it will destroy you. Pluto says the truth. If you don't own it, it will destroy you. And for me, I feel that Pluto is a very experiential a planet. So getting to know him in your own chart and understand how he plays out and what other planets he's talking to, it's very experiential. It's nearly hard to sum up Pluto because it's a feeling, yeah? He excavates the truth. He destroys, he breaks down, he overturns, but he empowers. He renews, he is destruction, but he's also resurrection. So yeah, his death, his rebirth, his sex, his obsession, where you want control. But he's also that sort of detective. He's deep, people with like strong Pluto or strong Scorpio can often be detectives or private investigators because they're really good at sort of staying out but getting deep and going and uncovering the truth. Yeah, that's what Pluto is doing at the moment with Saturn, uncovering the truth. Yeah. He's unyielding, and anything to do with, raw, potent power, uncovering the truth, like I just said, transforming the truth, transforming yourself. And all things occult, all things deep and mysterious, and I want to learn more, and, tattoos and piercings and all those sorts of things, body modifications and stuff. It's all very Plutonian, yeah? I love Pluto. If you can't already tell. Yes, so having these guys together, Saturn and Pluto together, it's empowering, but there may be a feeling of persecution. This is a time for us to move away from old, rigid structures and foundations. This is the ending as we come into this great conjunction of a very big cycle. It's a very practical conjunction, so it will be happening on the physical. Physical things will happen. I also heard that there's certain buildings in Sydney, apartment blocks that are sinking. We've got to look at, if it doesn't happen internally, it might happen externally as well. It's going to happen internally on some level, and where that is happening for you, we're going to go into very shortly. But but it's going to happen. We're seeing it happen in the physical. We're seeing it with, we're seeing it with the corporations. We're seeing it with the redundancies. We're seeing it with buildings sinking. We're seeing it with, people, moving home and changing things, or there's been renovations. I feel like anything to do with this sort of Capricornian, Saturnian sort of nature is like an inner renovation. And I feel like that's what I've been going through this year, is a real inner renovation, renovating my soul, renovating myself, yeah? Demolishing things, yeah? So this conjunction is really significant for long-term structures. New foundations and platforms and success will come from this. I was reading by Liz Green. She said, once Saturn and Pluto come together, there's actually it's more like a rebuild after that. It's a rebuild. It's a rebirth. So this is an exciting time. It's an exciting time to move away, like from the Renaissance stuff, the old dark, old mentality, old 3D ways of thinking, old 3D ways of feeling, interacting, the way we work, the way we are, and move into not only the Cancerian nature of more, touch and connection, heart, my friends, move into that. But I mean, we move into this Aquarian age, and I mean, this is going to be amazing for humanity. This is going to be incredible. Finally, people may be coming together, more community, more tribe is what we as humans need. Just watch anything from Brené Brown. She has studied that. Our brains need it. We are more isolated and alone than ever before. And it's because of this confusion and this chaos. People are struggling to let go of who they once were to become something new because they're fucking scared. It means that I might have to leave my job. It means that I might have to come out of some closet, whether or not that's got to do with your sexuality. That's not what coming out of the closet means to me. A lot of coming out of the closet is coming out to be who you really are. When who you really are is deeply required, that is what this is all about. This on an individual level, no matter where it's happening in your chart, but it is about coming out of wherever you've been hiding, holding on to the past because you're just too scared to maybe leave the husband because you got kids and a mortgage. Yeah, I get it. That'd be a big deal. But what's the sacrifice? Your soul, your happiness, your karma, because you stay in these situations and my goodness, it gets harder and harder and harder. And I'm not saying you just get up and leave. I mean, I'm one for working on a relationship, working on myself, working on a marriage. So if you've done all of those things, but you know the answer, that's the biggest thing. When people are, is this my soulmate? I'm giving you the hot tip now. You're going around asking psychics if someone's your soulmate. They probably ain't, because you would know that. Okay, I've never asked if Joel's my soulmate, because he fucking is. And I can see it in our charts, right? We've had past lives together that have been quite, we've come together for this life. It's karmic for us, literally, because it's got to do with the South Node, actually. So you can see this sort of stuff, right? So it's not just like, oh, twin flame, fucking soulmates. It's just all hype words to get people in fear. Oh, but my twin flame's married. Well, it's probably not your twin flame, okay? So, but this is the thing. Everyone's got this, this is what's crumbling, which gets me very excited. All the facade fake crap. It's all being like a light just shone on it. Like, high beam, this is the truth. This is what's coming out. And if you don't face your own truth, you will destroy yourself. You will self-destruct. You will annihilate yourself. We must come in and understand where this is all happening for us and how we are going to integrate it and move into these new times. Yeah, the word here is that it's a time of recovery. That's what I was going to say by Liz Green. I had that right here, but I've got like so many pages of notes. And I tangent off a little bit and then I come back. It's a time of recovery, which I think is really good because look what's been happening. Like there has been some real sad things happen on a collective to human beings, to human life. When you get to something like Donald Trump doing what he's been doing on the borders and stuff and not giving a shit about children and women and humans and mothers and men, and it's disgraceful, okay? It's absolutely disgraceful. But when Liz Green says that the preempt to the Saturn-Pluto conjunction usually is, usually there's big stuff that happens then, and then we can recover. And I believe that, and especially moving into this Aquarius, because You know, as much as Aquarians are aliens, we all know that about Aquarians. We know Ellen DeGeneres is a friggin' alien. She's a rad-ass alien, but she's an Aquarian. Oprah's an Aquarian. You know, we love Aquarians. And as much as they are like, you know, they step back a little bit and that, yeah, they're a bit detached, right, especially emotionally. But the thing is that there's this love of humanity and community and collaboration and wanting a better world. And when these big planets start to move into Aquarius, it's going to be friggin' amazing, okay? Really amazing. So yes, while Saturn and Pluto are together, there can be feelings of limits, restriction, you know, your feelings of looking at, again, and not letting go because the South Node is at play, looking at old structures that just do not work for you anymore. You're looking at things that are holding you back. That's pretty much what this is about. You're going to feel the limits, but you're going to see the structures that are holding you back, and you must look at what's not working and rebirth. Look at what's not working and rebirth. Yeah? Move away. It's a time to demolish. Literally, it's a time to demolish. We will survive this, even if it feels like on a personal level you won't. You will survive. But the thing is that with Saturn and Pluto, because they are both malefics, you've heard a little bit about them. Of course, go and, you know, research. I mean, I could talk for 1 hour on just one planet, you know what I mean? Like this is like just a little bit of awareness for you guys to arm you with a little bit of knowledge around a few of the things that are going on. But by all means, go and research more. Please, there's whole books just on Saturn. And I've got this, I mean, this one would probably look, and I haven't actually, I've got so many books and I'm always reading books, but this one I'm really looking forward to reading. And this is Saturn, A New Look at the Old Devil by Liz Green. Liz Green is an amazing astrologer. So that one, I might even just get that one out, actually start going on that one, but I've just got hundreds and hundreds of astrology books and I'm always diving into them. But you know, and the thing is that there is fear around Saturn and Pluto. I'm watching people make decisions from fear from society at the moment. People have literally admitted it to me. I got a flu shot because of fear. I got this because of fear. And I definitely don't judge. You know, I'm sad because I don't live in fear. I live in trust and faith and, you know, a knowing that I can't describe. So I don't live in fear. But at the moment, the fear is heavy. The fear blanket is heavy. And to take that blanket off, you must come into your own light and make your own decisions based on your own heart. Now, knowledge is power and power is, you know, and wisdom is power. But the thing is that when fear starts to cave in and everything's just dark, you know, this is what Saturn and Pluto might bring up for some people. I'm not going to lie. But again, remember, there's nothing to fear and everything to be watching. We're just watching this. Yeah. And you know, the fear sort of comes from, especially with the Saturn Pluto stuff, the fear is coming from the subconscious, the shadow. And this is what must be faced, like I said earlier. We must face the shadow. And this is really, I feel, what's really unfolding with this conjunction and this year in 2019, and it will definitely continue till the end of 2020 and beyond. But, you know, life is changing as we know it. Okay, I've got lots more to talk about. So I'm going to bring up the chart now. I'm going to bring up the chart to show you exactly where, I don't think you can see me, but that's okay. You don't need to see me, you can just hear me. So, here is the great conjunction. So this planet here that sort of looks like the H with the T, that's Saturn, and the P looks like Pluto. Sometimes Pluto looks like it's actually like a U with a circle in it and a line. No, it's U with a circle in it. I only really use this Pluto symbol here. But it can look different. But you can find all the planets always here if you're looking up, and it will show you the symbol. See, the P is for Pluto and this here is Saturn. Now, let's get talking about this actual conjunction, which is very exciting, and where it's going to happen in your house. So, in your chart. So your chart will look like this, but not like this. I just mean that it will be this beautiful, beautiful mandala of life and everything that you are, and holds all this wisdom and potential and truth and light and fear and restriction and limit. It holds every little thing. It's amazing. And so what we're going to be looking at just for you guys today is these beautiful eyepieces, which are the mansions, which are the houses, okay? So in the center here, you will see 1 through 12. We go anti-clockwise. This is where your chart starts. This is why your time of birth is so important, because this is your ascendant. This sets your entire chart up, okay? And then we go house 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way around. That's why we have all 12 signs within us, because we have 12 houses. Yes, let's get talking about the houses. Right, so I've given you Capricorn, Saturn, Pluto, a little bit about Saturn and Pluto. Like this is the thing, a little bit about the nodes and how they're actually really making an impact on this too. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the houses, and you will see where these two guys, well, it's actually going to be all of these guys. Now, if it goes over 2 houses, that's cool. Don't worry about it, okay? So maybe, but your main thing that you're looking at is the Saturn and Pluto, okay? It's just those two, because they're more than likely going to be in the same house. So just say that Pluto just happened to be there and Saturn was here, you just bump them into the 6th, okay? This is the 6th house here, because it's so at the edge. But you might relate to something of the 5th, but, you know, it's you know, the 6th is probably where it's sort of playing out. So ultimately, we're going to, now, for me, this is the where. So the houses are the where stuff happens in your life, and each house represents a different area. Now, of course, this is like a whole, like, week of my astrology. You know, I talk for, 2 hours on just the houses. So, I mean, I'm going to give you a little overview of the houses. Not, you know, I can't talk for hours on each of the houses, but what it's going to give you is your where. Now, when we look at this, we're looking at, yes, where this plays out, which means everything that I've just shared, the destruction, the truth, the destroying, the rebuild, all of the energy of this conjunction, it will be in a certain area of your life. So that's the invitation then to dive deeper into that. So if it's in your first house, it will be the area of self, my friends, self. So that would then mean that this Saturn and Pluto conjunction is happening in the house of you. It's happening in the house of how you're seen, how you interact with the world, your mannerisms, maybe your self-image, your physical appearance, your ego, your outward attitude, how you present yourself to the world. So it's quite a large conjunction, okay? I'm just going to stop that share for a second and make sure that everything's still good. It is. Maybe you can still see me, but yeah, obviously I'm reading and note-taking and got a million things here, but I can't see myself, but that doesn't bother me. So I don't know what you're seeing, but let me share this again. So we'll just keep the chart up now till we get towards the end. Okay. Now, all right. So the first house is the self, okay? So that's all you need to know is what area in your life this is happening. So, of course, if it's in the first house, it's a very big transition, because guess what? The south node is also there. So you can't see the south node here, but this is the north node. And then the south node is directly opposite the north node. It's actually right about here in between. So as you can see, there is Jupiter, the south node, the Sun, Saturn, Pluto, and Mercury, all in Capricorn, okay? This is huge. This is what's called a stellium, when there's more, you know, when there's 3 or more planets in one sign or house, it's a stellium of energy, which means it's a condensed amount of energy. It's a very big activation. So depending on your chart, you might, you know, have Saturn and Pluto in the first house, but some of those are, you know, Jupiter, for example, might be in the 12th house. Now, it doesn't really matter, okay? So what you're seeing in your chart, though, is not going to look like this, okay? And you might not even have Saturn and Pluto in your first house, as in, oh, sorry, yeah, that's what I've missed. Okay, sorry. I'm just like getting way ahead of myself. Okay, so So the way to find out where Saturn is, yeah, this is like a primal part here because you're not going to see what I'm talking about, okay? The way to find out where Saturn and Pluto is here, this guy here, Capricorn. See the symbol for Capricorn? He's going to be on one of the houses, okay? That's where he's going to be, on one of the houses, all right? Now, if you are in astro.com and you're new, you can always, once you've put in all of your details, if you go into the extended section, your details will still be in there. And once you click on here, there'll be like a little green thing that says transits. And transits means where the planets are now. So what you're looking at in your chart is your own birth chart. And what you need to find for me is this guy here, Capricorn. Okay, so once you've found the house that Capricorn rules, you might have stuff in Capricorn, that's cool. We're not going to talk about that today. All I need from you is to find what house Capricorn rules. So just say that this is someone's chart. This might be, so this is someone else's chart. Capricorn rules their 5th house. Okay, so for you, Capricorn might be up here and it might rule your 8th. And yes, you might see that there might be 2, but it's where it starts. Okay, so you can see the lines here. They break up the signs. So this is where Sagittarius starts. This is where Capricorn begins. So that is where he starts. He starts in the 5th house, okay? Now, so that's what you need to see. Now, you might have planets already in that house, which does amplify things a little bit. But again, I can't go into that. That's a whole session or something, right? Like that's something completely different that would take a lot more time. But at the end of the day, what you're looking at is just what house is ruled by Capricorn, okay? So for this house, it's the 5th, like I said. You know, for me, this symbol here is down here. It's my 4th house, okay? So that's why the time's important, because the time will show you what house and where all the signs are in the houses, okay? So I hope that makes sense now, and now it will make much more sense when I say that Saturn and Pluto, if they're in the 1st house, it means Capricorn is ruling that house. So not where your Saturn is and not where your planet is. Pretty much what you're seeing is your own chart. Ultimately, all you need to know is the house that Capricorn rules. Okay, I think I'm on that now. So as we said, if these two, if Capricorn rules your 1st house, it's all about self. Your own self-awareness again. So this is a very big purge. If anything is if these come into the 1st house, the 4th house, the 7th, or the 10th, if that is your Capricorn house, that's quite big. They're called the angular houses. Again, that's a whole nother lesson. But the angular houses mean a lot. Let's just say that, okay? So the 1st house is self. It's who you are. It's the way you present to the world, which means that this great conjunction is happening in that area in your life. So you'll be feeling it on a very big level because all aspects of yourself are probably beginning to change. You're feeling, maybe pulled in different directions. Again, you might be finding it very hard to let go of the old ways, the old yous. I mean, the old yous that you have been. At the end of the day, this is about many graveyards of old selves. We must come into this new paradigm, this new world, okay? So that's the 1st house. Now, if Capricorn is your 2nd house, Saturn and Pluto will be hanging out here in the 2nd house. Now, the 2nd house is about your material security, your solidity, your money, your finances, how you make money, your values, your core values, your self-values, the way you are, your own resources, your inner resources, your personal resources, but also those core resources, like what you pull on. So the 2nd house is all about, how you make money. But yeah, it's all about material possessions and finances. So there may be an overhaul there, because at the end of the day, what I'm sharing with you today, that's where the planets are now, okay? So if you have Capricorn on your 2nd house, well, they're already there. But the thing is that what I want you to be aware of is that is where the great conjunction will happen. But that's where this is all year. That's why this is really important. You must know that these guys are hanging out here, as well as the South Node, which is what you need to let go of. Okay, so of course here in the 1st, it's letting go of the ego, letting go of the fear of stepping into the unknown and knowing who you are. In the 2nd, it's letting go of material possessions being your sense of self-value, self-worth. You are more than the money you make. You are more than the material possessions you have. So by having this conjunction here in the second house, it's very much about, you know, looking at your own inner values, and that's what's going to go through the restructure. So just think, the houses are your where. This is the crumbling, the rebuild, the restructure, and the rebirth. Okay, so just think of it like that. So think of, when I talk about the house, I just want you to put into perspective that this is where you're probably maybe already feeling a crumbling. Maybe you're already starting the rebuild or the restructure or the rebirth. Okay, so that's what this comes down to. Okay, is that whatever house Capricorn rules for you, that is where the crumbling happens, the great awake happens, the rebuild, the restructure, and the rebirth will take place for you. Okay, so that second house is money, finances, self-value, yeah, your core values, your core beliefs, yeah. So the third house is communications, mental stimulation. So if Capricorn is here, you will have Saturn and Pluto hanging in the third for this. This is your networking, your little short journeys, how you communicate, how you learn, study, how you speak, those closest to you. So your siblings, your neighbours, okay, your early education. This is how you think. You know, this is the way you think. This is the way you learn. This is the way you speak. So that will be going through an overhaul. So things will be changing around that. It's your mind, it's your mentality, it's the way you assimilate information. So to have Saturn and Pluto in the third house, you're beginning to open to new ways of thinking. That's great. New ways of being, new ways of communicating the way you are in the world. You know, maybe you actually start studying something new, or maybe you actually give up on studying something because it's not fulfilling you. I could see it go both ways, to be honest. Okay. So the fourth house is home, security, the mother, the nurturer, what makes you feel safe. Yeah, it's your foundations, it's your family values, it's your roots, it's your, you know, your solid base, your traditions. It is the mother, it is the childhood, it's your origin, the past, your heritage, your domestic life, and your early life. So if Capricorn, like me, rules your fourth house, which is here, fourth house, this is a really, for me, and because I'm experiencing this right now, of course, because Saturn and Pluto are already there, and they've been there for a little while. It's the biggest thing is that, you know, some of this should hopefully already be resonating with you. And if it's not, there just needs to be more of an activation or an awareness around that, yeah? Or diving deeper into the house so that you can understand. So the thing is with the fourth house, it is, you know, for me, it's about it's the parenting. What I am learning is that I don't have parents. Okay, my father died 6 years ago. I have no contact with my stepmom, who I grew up with, or my birth mum. And trust me, I'm completely fine with that. I've done all the healing around that, and I'm very good. I feel free and liberated. But what I'm learning and what I'm having to rebirth and restructure after the crumbling of this, you know, after the crumbling, is that I have to know and learn how to parent myself and make my own self and inner self feel secure. The fourth house is also like the womb, like it's sort of like a womb of the chart. It's the lowest point in the chart is here, the IC, which rules the fourth house, okay? It's an angular house, like I said earlier. So this is the womb of the chart. It's like actually the most deepest, darkest, it's the midnight part of the chart. So it's dark, it's womb-like, okay? So it's getting deep into the subconscious and doing the work. You know, I've been seeing my psychologist the whole time this Capricorn stuff's been going on, and really excavating old triggers, old ways, old childhood patterns, so that I can move into this more healed space, so the inner child stuff doesn't take over, because we know that, you know, the inner child, we've all got stuff to do when it comes to that. It's just if you want to do it or not. But the thing is that having this conjunction in the fourth house really brings up those issues around your security, your safety. For some people, it might be that you've moved, that you want to move, that you're renovating your house, you know, and that's exactly what's happening in my life as well. I'm renovating my house. So, you know, it will have to do with the home structure, but your own inner home structure. Okay, I hope that that makes sense. I mean, I like I said, you know, I could talk about the houses for an hour just on their own, but you know, this is the main things that you need to know about each house. Okay, so we move to the 5th house if Capricorn rules your 5th house. So this is the chart of the day that it's happening. So this isn't someone else's chart. This isn't my astrology chart or anyone else's. This is actually a chart of the exact day, the 12th of January, the 12th of January, 2020. Okay, this is saying 9 p.m., but, you know, it's pretty much all day. So it's a Sunday, the 12th of January, 2020. This is the chart for that day, okay? So the 5th house, if it's ruled by Capricorn, this is the fun house, I call it. You know, it's the house of creativity, the inner child, interactions with children, your self-expression, romance, leisure, recreation, amusement, procreation, so having babies, yeah? Sports, play, gambling, fun, you know, sexy times, right? Flirting, romance, hobbies. Now, the thing is that if Saturn and Pluto are here, you may feel restricted in those areas, okay? That's what needs to be, that's what maybe needs, you know, is having the crumbling. That's what needs to be rebuilt. So maybe your own, you know, your own relationship to fully creatively express yourself, because the 5th house and the 1st house, yes, they're very different, but the one sort of similarity is it's got to do with the self. Okay, so it's got to do with who you are, how you express yourself, and your ego, right? So the 5th house, if this is happening in your 5th house, it's going to take a lot of courage to overcome that stuff, yeah? To actually express yourself. Maybe if you're trying to have a baby, is it proving to be difficult? And I want to hear, because, you know, I'm not experiencing your chart. I'm only experiencing my own. And astrology is experiential. I will not or will never tell you what you are experiencing. You know, if I'm doing my job right as an astrologer and you're doing your job right by activating your chart, by living your chart out, you know, everything is seamless and it makes sense, right? So the thing is but what I want to hear back from my clients is how that plays out for them. So I think that it's very fascinating if someone's having this in their 5th house, Saturn and Pluto. What's Saturn? You know, restriction, okay? Restriction. So is it hard to have a baby at the moment? Right? That's what I'm asking. Like, I don't know, like, is that happening for you? But it also might be that you feel heavy, that you're not feeling fun and joyful, and you don't have a hobby, you know, you're not being playful, right? You're not having enough sex, you're not having enough romance in your life. Maybe you're feeling restricted, because remember, I'm talking about the conjunction, and which is happening now and going to happen into 2020. But the thing is that, you know, you've got to remember everything I talked about with Saturn and Pluto. So you might be feeling, the death of the old of that house, and it's rebirthing, or you might be feeling the pangs of the restriction. Maybe you're feeling fearful of those things, right? But this is about the rebirth. This is about the restructure and the rebuild of the house. Yeah. Just having a drink if you can't see me. Okay, so if Capricorn rules the sixth house, this house is health, okay? The health house, your work ethics, your service, so your occupation and your job, okay? Not your career. Career house is 10th, my friends. This is just that sort of mundane. I go to job, I go to my job, I pay my bills, but there's magic in the mundane, and don't get me wrong, I use the word mundane because it really does sum up the 6th house. However, there is so much magic in the mundane, and that's actually going to be an online course that I put together to help people to integrate everyday stuff, because that's what the 6th house is everyday stuff. It's the everyday ritual, the way you cook, the way you clean, the washing, it's all those sorts of things that you do on a daily basis. It's of course, being your health, it's your diet regime, your routine, that's the best word for it as well, your craftsmanship, your service to others, how you listen to and care for your body. Okay, so if you're having this conjunction in the 6th house, yes, your health must be a priority. Okay, you must be taking care of your health. You must be, at the end of the day, you must be listening to your body and giving it what it needs, not what it wants, but what it needs. And And really, you know, be mindful of that health regime. Maybe you're having a complete overhaul. Maybe you've had an illness. Maybe you've had, you know, you've not been well, or an operation or surgery or anything like that to do, you know, to do with your health. The first house is also the physical body as well. It might play out in a different way though, yeah? So the sixth house is the health side of things. But then it's this job. You know, are you happy in your job? You know, do you feel like you're being of service in your job? What needs to crumble in the sixth house for you to be in order to rebuild, restructure, and rebirth? Now, I'm going to keep coming back to that, because the where this is playing out is the crumbling. It's the rebuild, restructure, and it's the rebirth. And that is what it's about. So you understand what each house represents, and then you know what area this is happening in your life. So yeah, so this is about your service and your job. And the way you interact every day in your life, right? Your own ritual, your own routine, you know. Are you feeling restricted and limited? Then do you need to change it up a bit? You know, do you need, a new way that you drive to work? I know that sounds weird, but that is what routine is. That is what, you know, that is what this sort of sixth house thing does. You know, you're craving change, right? Like, that's the thing. So having it in your sixth house is all things to do with everyday sort of stuff. Okay, so it's pretty big. Now the seventh house just happens to be that little bit bigger, because it's the house of relationships, you know. So we've done the bottom half of the chart, now the top half of the chart. The seventh house is the house of relationships, not just marriage, not just your partner, but all relationships, business relationships, yeah? The way you relate, what you project, what comes back to you, that is the seventh house. So if you've got this, there's a lot of karma happening in your relationships at the moment, okay? So this is also like it's about cooperation, group awareness, open enemies. Again, your own projections. The first house is self, and then the seventh house is others. And it can be what you're not acknowledging within yourself, you project onto other people, and that shows up for you. Now, if you've got Saturn and Pluto here, there's a great purge around those things. You're probably tying up loose ends with old karmic patterns with people, as in karmic relationships. Maybe those things are tying up your marriage. I mean, what's it going through? You know, there might be a heaviness around that. Maybe you're feeling restricted and need more freedom, or maybe you're rebirthing your marriage, like you're getting its second wind. Like maybe it's felt a little bit heavy, and you're, you know, wanting to move to the next level of that relationship. In, you know, the next, that next sort of level, like of deeper happiness or deeper fulfillment. You know, Saturn, Pluto here. I would be very interested to see how many people, you know, break up and get a divorce while Saturn and Pluto's here. Because again, Saturn is the truth. You know, this is about facing the truth of the relationships that you're in, the truth about the business relationship, the truth about what you maybe project onto other people and how that is coming back to you. You know, the seventh house is a very karmic house, and to have the South Node karma, the Saturn karma, you know, to have all these guys hanging out here with this great conjunction, you know, there's going to be a real change within you. The way you relate, the way you are in relationships will have a big, big overhaul. Okay. And, you know, it all starts with you. It all starts with the knowledge and the awareness that, oh yeah, this is happening in my seventh house, you know, in my businesses. I'm feeling triggered by people at work, or I quit my job because, you know, I felt triggered by that person, or, you know, whatever that is for you. But the seventh house is quite a karmic house. So, you know, really understanding that this is a big ending of a cycle, because once Saturn moves out of this house, he won't be back here for 30 more years, okay? And Pluto will never be in this house again. Now, when a slow-moving planet like Pluto, he will take a long time, like 14, 15 years to go through one house, okay? So everything that I'm sharing with the houses, you know, and this is, you know, there's astrology books on houses, and you can read so much more about them as well. But when a planet like Pluto goes through, he is literally transforming that house, the way that house is, okay? And then to have this great conjunction with Saturn there, Saturn's bringing about that karma. And then, of course, the South Node's there at the moment in that house as well. You've got this purge, this great karmic release of what's no longer working. So I would say if it is in the seventh house for you, you know, it's a very, very, you know, be very aware and, you know, face the truth around your relationships, how you project, face the truth around what needs to end. for something to begin again. And now I'm, like I said, I'm the first person to say you work on relationships, but the thing is that you have a deep inner knowing of what and who you want to, who you are, or what you're desiring. So this is the time to either, rebuild that. And that's the thing. That's where this sort of second wind can come along. Maybe it's a rebuilding of the marriage. Yeah. Okay. So the eighth house. The eighth house, if Capricorn is here, that means that Saturn and Pluto are hanging in this eighth house. Now, this is the house of secrets, of death, of the occult. So this is the actual house that Pluto rules in astrology, is the eighth house. Saturn rules the 10th house. So, of course, if Saturn and Pluto are in either the 8th or 10th, they're in their home houses, okay? They're going to feel very at home there. So the eighth house is the occult, the hidden. It's also inheritance and other people's money, so banks' money, okay, as well, yeah. Rebirth, again, other people's resources. So yes, it's other people's money, other people's resources. Magic, psychic abilities, transformation, power, the mysterious. Also the truth, penetration, sex, repression. Now the fifth house is fun, flirty, romantic sex. And the eighth house is deep, intense sexual power and control. So, of course, if you've got these guys going on in this house, it is a full rebirth, in a very different way if it's in the first house of self, because this is a deep self stuff, right? This is unconscious things coming to fruition. This is you really having to do the work. I know some people with this transit, with Saturn and Pluto there, and they have made huge changes in their lives this year. They're not tolerating certain things anymore. They're stepping into their own power. They've got boundaries. Things are changing on a very deep, fundamental level. Again, the foundations are really changing in the eighth house. Maybe, you've got to look at where you're obsessed or where you need control in your life. That's a big thing with Saturn and Pluto being here in this eighth house. It's control. Where can you not let go, right? Where do you feel like you need to control life and control everyone around you so that you can sit comfortably? All of that stuff will need to crumble, to rebuild, to rebirth, yeah? And it's the same with other people's money. If you're relying on a lot of other people's money, like banks and all those sorts of things, it's an invitation to say, well, hey, where can I rely on myself, pull on my own inner resources here, and not, be giving away my power by making that person responsible. So, this is a very, very powerful conjunction to be happening in the eighth house. Yeah. So the ninth house, if Capricorn rules this ninth house, they will be in hanging out here in the house of philosophy, religion, knowledge, higher education, travel, foreign lands, freedom, spirituality, beliefs, justice, God, pretty much. It's the guru house. So this could be you are changing your belief patterns. Maybe you're even studying something very spiritual. Maybe you're doing a lot of travel to really ground in new experiences around who you are in this world. The ninth house is this quest for knowledge, this quest for, wanting to know what the world means, and this universal, I want to know why I am here. It's the bigger picture stuff, right? So maybe your old beliefs are being very challenged right now. And we see things in the media, and the ninth house is also media, but I just want to relate to the Israel Folau situation. He's, come out and talked about gays really horribly, and talked about religion, which is the ninth house. So maybe you were brought up like that, and you are just you are conflicted, okay, because these beliefs are being very challenged now because they're not okay. When you've got Catholic priests going to jail for pedophilia, all within this uncovering and Saturn Pluto truth being uncovered. This is all very ninth house stuff, right? This is all, everything's out in the open, the public, these houses here is where everyone can see. What's underneath is a little more hidden. What's above is more interaction and more social, and where everyone else can see. So I'm just using that as an example because, maybe you've got some very deep entrenched beliefs that need to change, and it might be a struggle. Pluto is death of old beliefs, and Saturn crystallizes those beliefs. So with this great conjunction, yeah, that the crumbling might be great, but I'm telling you, the rebirth is so much nicer. You will come out more open. So this is really about openness and leaving those sorts of things behind, becoming more open to spirituality and the universe. You know, that's how I perceive it. Of course, this is all through my own astrology lens, right? So the 10th house, the last angular house that we're going to talk about, the house of career, the house of ambitions, goals, responsibility, reputation, your success, prestige, your highest potential, social status, yeah? The public eye. So if this is happening here, you know, I'm sure that your career is going through a change. You know, maybe you've studied and now you don't want that. Or maybe, you know, I've been wondering sort of just seeing people fall in the media. I'm like, oh, I wonder if this is happening in their 10th house, because again, the truth is coming out and everyone can see it. So ultimately, you know, when stuff is happening in the 10th house, maybe that crumbling happens in public. So, you know, you must, especially if you are in the public eye and you have this conjunction, you know, I'd be very, very mindful of how you're dealing with yourself and your affairs, okay? Because Pluto and Saturn hanging out in this 10th house could really, you know, it's a whole friggin' world just all of about to crumble beneath you. And this isn't going to happen with everyone, but it depends on your intentions, where you're at, your truth, your honesty, if you're living with integrity, if you're living with respect, if you're doing anything that's really out of alignment to maybe get power or be popular or be seen or money hungry, greedy, success at all costs, ruthless, I would be very, very mindful. I would be really renegotiating those decisions and those intentions, because if Saturn and Pluto are here, shit is going to get real and things will be destroyed and crumbled, and you don't want that to happen in the public eye. But you know, that's me just going on that little tangent. At the end of the day, the 10th house is about your success, your career, your highest potential, what you're aiming towards. So of course that is going to be the sort of area of change for you with this conjunction. So the 11th house is friendships and groups, humanity, your dreams, your visions, your goals, your ideals. Yeah, it's aspirations. It's your friendships, like I said, your kinship, right? Organizations, communities, and just groups. Okay, so if this is happening here, this is like a real chance to reevaluate what your dreams are moving forward. Maybe you've held on to a dream for way too long and it just doesn't serve you anymore. It doesn't sit right with you anymore. So it's time to release that and to let that go and to rebuild something new. Okay, friendships might be happening for you, like the death of old friendships, or you know, what you thought of someone. You know, it might be, you know, you're seeing the truth maybe. Yeah, so we're you know, each time we get to the, you know, when you're looking at the house that Capricorn rules for you, just go back to what Capricorn rules, what Saturn rules, what Pluto does, and really put that into perspective of how that is playing out for you individually within this house. Yeah. So yeah, the 11th house, it's all around those friendships and ideals, your hopes, your dreams. Those things might be undergoing change, your visions, what you're aspiring to be. And it's all that community, and you know, and maybe it's a time to give back, be generous, you know, go and help in a soup kitchen or something like that. I feel like that could really amplify in a very positive way the good karma, but not doing it because of that, but doing it because, yeah, you feel like it's time to give back, you know, that maybe you've been in, you know, too much power in groups or something like that, and that's sort of starting to not fulfill you. I mean, again, you know, not dissimilar to the 11th, but the 10th house with reputation and career, but the 11th is also groups. So, you know, having Saturn and Pluto there, that's a very powerful place to have them moving through. So watching where you place your power, and what does power mean to you, especially in groups? Are you too powerful, not powerful enough? Do you need to step into your power a little bit more, or do you need to not be so powerful and unyielding? Yeah, Saturn and Pluto are going to highlight that a lot. And last but not least, if Capricorn is here on the 12th house, the 12th house is the house of the inner worlds. It is dreams, isolation, oneness, your own self-undoing, spirituality, your self-sacrifice, the hidden, the paranormal, transcendence, all things unconscious and behind the scenes, yeah? So this is a very, very deep place. So as you can hear, if Capricorn rules your 4th, 8th or 12th, these are the natural water houses, okay? They are very, very deep houses, very deep and very powerful houses, yeah? So with this conjunction in the 12th, it can be hidden. You've got to do a lot of work to come into this place of recognition of what's hiding for me, what old, you know, karmic lineage have I brought with me that needs to be purged and released, you know? So there's that sort of element, you know, similar to the 4th, I would say, yeah, because that's also lineage and your roots and your traditions. So that is also getting away from that sort of stuff as well. And in the 12th, it's all about, you know, your dream life, your spirituality. You know, are you escaping life? You know, this is a heavy hitting conjunction with 2 malefic planets. You know, if you're doing drugs, if you're escaping reality with whatever that is, it can be sex, it can be food, it can be too much TV, it can be too much exercise. Obsession with anything isn't good, okay? And the 12th house is the house of escapism. So if you're not facing the truth, and if you're even finding it hard to pinpoint that, you know, this is a good time for psychology, you know, even maybe past life regression. You know, this is a good time to get into the nuts and bolts of yourself, to actually understand yourself more, I would say, because this is such a subconscious, like, hidden transit when things are going through the 12th house. It's so hidden that sometimes it's hard to put your finger on them. So unless you're aware that this is happening, it might have just been fuzzy and you know, you're sort of lashing out, or yeah, like drinking too much on the weekends and stuff like that, just to suppress what's actually coming up. But this is the invitation to divinely connect to the universe, to meditate, to go within for the answers. But like I said, it is still the house of psychology, so and yoga and things like that. It's the house of spirituality. So yeah, whilst I recommend psychology would be something great, or even doing yoga would be great to move this stuff through the body and allow it to come up. Also, you know, not isolation in a negative way, but you also want to like be in tune with yourself and really delve to the deepest parts of yourself, to the unconscious, you know, and purge whatever fears you have around the spiritual. Okay, that's a big thing too. You know, I feel like this will be a really big test of not the karmic purge of not trusting is what I'm trying to say, because the 12th house is all about trust. Okay, so there has to be a deep trust. And with Saturn and Pluto together, of course, there's an element of control. There's an element of obsession. So this is about deeply trusting and going deeply within to access that point. Yeah. Okay, let's do this. Hello. Oh, maybe I've been there the whole time, but I haven't seen myself. So I'm back. So pretty big stuff, right? So ultimately, they're the 12 houses, you know, summed up in you know, as quick as I could do it. What was that, like half an hour or 40 minutes or something? And I just want to wrap up, okay? Those houses are the where it is happening. That's where the crumble happens, the rebuild, the restructure, and the rebirth. So really nutting out and understanding that house will be of great benefit to you. And again, of course, you know, really absorbing and experiencing Pluto and Saturn and Capricorn and how that unfolds for you. Where and how do you experience that in your life? The how, the house will show the where you experience that. Yeah. So ultimately on this day, I just wanted to share a little bit about the actual day. Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Pluto, the storm, I've called it. They're conjunct. They're all on top of each other, okay? This sets up our entire 2020, okay? It sets it up. I think just pre that is a full moon in Cancer as well, which is, of course, the North Node eclipse is where Cancer is. And the new moon in Capricorn happens early degrees of Capricorn on Boxing Day. So that is a real sort of pinnacle to set intentions and motions to ground and anchor in this energy, because It's very earthy, and for some people, a lot of earth energy feels very, very heavy. Okay, so it can feel very heavy. So it's about breaking out of the fear and being able to be, tuned in on a light level. Yeah. So that's the storm. But the South Node and Jupiter are also conjunct this exact same day very closely as well. And that's a whole. I will probably talk about that closer, possibly just in a vlog or something like that. Because this is a really big release. This is a really big purge because the South Node's involved. So the South Node's finally moved away from Saturn and now moves, and by the end of this year, 2019, Jupiter moves into Capricorn. So we're getting more Capricorn energy, okay? So this is a real vortex of the past, I think, being nullified, like literally being blanked out. But it's also a time of, acknowledging your repeated patterns. And something from the past may come up and be really karmic, and it might be an opportunity. So there is good. Jupiter is a benefic planet, so a good, happy. He's the Santa Claus of the zodiac. So ultimately, while he's hanging out with the South Node, really wanting you to let go of old limitations and free yourself once and for all with this stellium in Capricorn. Jupiter's amplifying things too, because the South Node, yes, it's the past and it's karma and it's, it's what's comfortable and it's where you stay comfortable and you don't want to move, but it's also past gifts. So whilst Jupiter is hanging out there, he's amplifying your past gifts or gifts that are innately within you that maybe you've suppressed or you haven't acknowledged. Like maybe you're a singer and you don't sing, but all of a sudden Jupiter on the South Node makes you sing. And again, you're looking at what house this is in, okay? So that is going to be sort of where this is all playing out for you in your life. So at the end of the day, this day itself is the nature and signatures of all of these planets in Capricorn is setting up our entire 2020. Okay, so we've got to look at control, extremism, power tripping, the crumbling, the obsession, the ruthlessness, the shredding, the darkness, the fear, because this is a time where it's about limits being gone. Yeah, fear. Totally overcoming the fear and the heaviness. It's actually about transmuting all of that, because you may feel it on some level, and even depending on what house it's happening in your chart. You might not feel it in any other area, but of course where it's happening in your chart, that's going to be the real crux of it, okay? And then there's a million other things that are going on. Other planets are talking to other planets. There's so much. 2020 is a huge, epic year astrologically with a lot of stuff going on. Okay, but this is the very beginning of the year. This is setting us up. And from now until then, we want to be prepared. We want to understand ourselves better, understand how this is playing out, and start to purge the things that we're holding on to. Start to let go of all the old ways. Start to let go of everything that's happening in that house, in that area of our lives. Start to rebuild it. Yeah, okay? Because 2020 is a big event. 2020, all of 2020, big event. We've got Mars, Venus both retrograding next year, our normal Mercury retrogrades. We've got a very amazing conjunction happening, which is also, I think it's actually called the Great Conjunction, that's what astrologers call it. That's happening in December 2020, which is setting up a whole new different cycle. Again, I'll actually do something like this again next year about that. But there is so much going on, so much big stuff. This year Jupiter moves into Capricorn and joins all of this. Next year, Jupiter and Saturn move into Libra. Sorry, I've got Libra on my mind because I've got air signs on mine. Aquarius, they move into that, and that's this great conjunction. So there is big things are changing. So it's change or be changed, change with awareness. And my biggest thing is that everyone, only wants to make changes when something goes wrong. Like, oh, my life's falling apart, so I want to make a change. But I love to live in, I always want to be everyone's hindsight. If I give you this information, then it's about choice. Change is a choice. And then instead of, only being forced to make a life change, like cancer, losing someone, getting really sick, being burnt out, not being in a good relationship, all these sorts of things. Like, instead of it being like a total crisis point. You're making your changes from a happy place. You know, that's why I love life, and I always constantly transform and resurrect myself and rebirth. And it's never from a place of lack or sadness or crisis, very rarely. Yeah, of course, 20 years ago, there was much more of that, but then it just becomes normal and you're aligned and attuned, right? You are in alignment. When you're in alignment, life is easy. And I've been saying, are you in alignment or alignment? Is it a lie or is it the truth? So this is what all of this energy is building towards, okay? So my things are limits, be gone. Fears, be gone. Today we rise on the 12th of the 1st, 2020. And fascinatingly enough, Jupiter meets Pluto on the 12th of November, 2020, exactly 10 months later. So that is very fascinating to me as well. And then on the 20th of the 12th, 2020, that's when this new big conjunction happens with Jupiter and Saturn. So for me, you know, just summing up, this is the time to let go of limits, old structures, old forms, old stories, old ways. Like I said, the cracks in the foundation are being revealed, all the glitter and all the stuff that you've stuffed down, hoping that they won't, they are going to be lit up like a Christmas tree for them to be resolved so that you can create a solid foundation on which to go forward in the future. We know, you know, I've chatted a little bit about the power and the economics and stuff that's going on collectively. We've talked about it individually. We must clear our own karmic debris, our own karmic debts, our own karmic ties, and our own karmic templates at this time. Everything is shifting like tectonic plates, okay? The world, the earth, the dimensions, the universe. My God, like the black hole was discovered this year, a photo of it. And just saying, she's born on my birthday, so don't even worry about it. Don't even worry that she's a Taurus and we got the same birthday. But it's rad stuff, right? We are in rad times. And I want you to get on board with this in a really great, excited, liberating way. The truth liberates you. You know, you can only have true freedom and joy when you can let go of all of that stuff and in awareness and moving forward and changing your perception and wherever it's happening in your chart, you know, that is key for you to really help you with these times and with this great conjunction. At the end of the day, you know, like I've said here, the new paradigm is here and much more in 2020. You know, we're looking at, you know, people are like, oh, ascension. Like from 2012, it has been great steps of ascending, of energies shifting, of really stepping into this new vibration. Again, the 3D paradigm gone. And for some, it was an easier transition. But this is the thing. This is this Renaissance period now energetically. The old patriarchy 3D stuff is gone. And it's time to move into these new ways. And again, it's let go or be dragged, you know, change or be changed. You know, you want to do this willingly, openly, in surrender, in allowance, and live from that space. Yeah. You know, like I've said, you know, we're talking about ascension. We've arrived. These are the times we've been preparing for, especially if you've been doing a lot of, you know, work and self-development stuff. Not the constantly going to healers and psychers. That's not self-development, right? Like doing the actual work, the groundwork. These times are probably feeling really fucking revolutionary. And yeah, there's still stuff because we're still human, but they're much more revolutionary than debilitating. Okay. So, you know, I could keep talking forever, but I think we've done a couple of hours now. And I just, you know, I wanted to arm you with this so that you have this in the back of your mind. So it plants some seeds so you can further investigate, you know, so that you can, you know, be with the universal language and be initiated into this, you know, awareness of yourself and your soul and what's playing out for you and how this is going to affect you individually. These times are so potent and so powerful, and I want you to thrive, not just survive. I want you to thrive. And if things start to get a little bit heavy and fears start to come up, you know, I'm sending everyone to the earth at the moment. For the next 6 months, the earth will be your greatest healer, your greatest teacher. You know, be with yourself, you know, connect into yourself divine, and just be open. Just stay open and stay present and be light. You know, take this in lightly. because there's nothing heavy about any of this. I'm sure you haven't felt that from me, but I just want to remind you that there's nothing heavy about this. This is new beginnings. So I'm so excited to hear all about it. You know, feel free to message me and share with me how, you know, what you've learned or how it's impacted you or how you're experiencing it. It's been the greatest joy being able to deliver this to you. I feel so lit up right now, and I just want to thank you for coming on this masterclass journey with me. I'm so honoured and deeply blessed. Thank you so much. Oh, namaste, and big love for the Great Awake. Actually, yeah, I was going to say one more thing, but then I realised I already said that. So thank you so much love, deepest blessings, and namaste.